What's up YouTube, Kristo here, and I've got another video for you. This is a checkout installment looking at the house of Etat Libre d'Orange. Basically what I'm going to do is take all my samples, decants, full bottles from this house and talk about them and give my ranking from least to most favorite, as well as give some thoughts individually on each scent. Now, a bit of backstory to the Eldo house before I get started. It is a French niche brand, and to me they are exactly what niche should be. They're higher quality fragrances that are less accessible to mainstream markets, and they also do things that are less conventional or more daring, and that's really important to me. Definitely one of my most beloved fragrance houses at the moment. So that's one reason I really wanted to do this, to kind of get some of these names out there, get some recognition for them. So let's get into it. First fragrance, my least favorite, probably no surprise. If you're familiar with Eldo and niche perfume, you're probably familiar with this scent here. This is Secretions Magnifique, which is meant to smell like bodily fluids or secretions. And to me, this is as bad as people say it is. There's a huge proportion of the people who say this that say it is the worst fragrance ever made. Not necessarily in terms of quality, but in terms of just what it smells like. I actually have to give credit to the perfumer on this. As much as I hate this scent, I think he did a really good job. The composure on this is excellent. It just smells disgusting. What I get out of this is basically someone who's put a handful of copper coins in their mouth, let them sat there for a while, and then spat them into a cup. And if you were to stick your nose in that cup and smell it, that's what this smells like. And it's definitely something I do not want to go out of the house or, even sit around the house smelling like. If I put a couple sprays of this on myself, I feel sick and nauseous. I can't stand the scent. There are definitely people who really like this a lot, but they're definitely a very small minority. I'm definitely on the majority side with this one. I can't stand it, and I think it smells disgusting. So, next one, kind of a bit of a common thread running between these two. This is Vrai Blonde. I recently described this in my haul video or a haul video as a fragrance that smells vaginal. And what this basically has in it is champagne and peach, which combined together gives me what I think of as kind of a sexual, soft, slightly sweet skin smelling fragrance, which, knowing what they've done with Secretions, leads me to believe that perhaps that's the angle they're going for on this. I definitely find Vrai Blonde to be more wearable, but it's still not something I can pull off. I appreciate the artistry in this, but I just can't wear it. Basically the same story as Secretions. Okay, next one. This one definitely more wearable, and this is definitely one of the crowd pleasers from the house. This is Sharon. And I did a little survey on Facebook a little while ago in a pretty reputable fragrance group, and a lot of people cited Sharon as their favorite from the house. It's not my favorite, but I really like what this does. The only thing that keeps it out of the higher rankings is I've kind of smelled what this is before. It's basically a boozy vanilla with kind of very decadent, decaying lily and rose. It is kind of like a gothic white floral, or maybe pink floral. I don't know, the red and the white flowers kind of, mixed together. So it's not particularly white, it's not particularly red. I really like this, but I think I've smelled it pretty similar before, and I think I gotta give that other fragrance, the nod over this one. Definitely quite affordable comparatively to the other one, but I like it, just not the best. It is also leaning definitely towards the feminine side of the spectrum, if that's something you're concerned about as well. Next, this was one of a pair of Eldos I picked up very recently. I'm going to butcher the name. Vierges et Tauros, basically translating as virgins and bullfighters. The notes of this sound awesome. You've got patchouli, leather, and tuberose. I've only had this fragrance in my collection for a few days now, and I'm not really digging it. It basically smells like plastic. I really like tuberose. It's probably one of my favorite white flowers. I love patchouli, and I'm trying to get more leather fragrances in my house, in my collection. So I thought this would kind of, cover a few bases, but I'm still kind of working with it, but I just get a lot of plastic. It's strange and it's weird and it's different, but it's not really bringing to me what I want from it or a fragrance in general. Okay, next, this is another fragrance that rated very highly in my little Facebook survey, Jasmine a Cigarette. And this one I definitely like more than Sharon. As you can guess, it is literally jasmine and tobacco. Tobacco in this, though, don't worry about the name cigarette. That's kind of misleading. It doesn't smell like a dirty old butted out cigarette in an ashtray. It smells to me more like shredded dry tobacco. So if you were to take the cigarette and kind of push the tobacco out of it before you smoke it, rather than lighting it up, and then you pour some jasmine water on it, that's what this smells like to me. I like this, and I think it is strange and different and daring, but I also find it to be quite simple and literally just jasmine and tobacco. It's good, but I want something a little bit different, or a little bit more challenging perhaps as well. Okay, next. This is the other of my pair that I picked up recently, Delicious Closet Queen. And this one has been a really nice surprise. The first few times I tried this, I didn't like it. The opening notes, the first 5-10 minutes of this, smell like a really cheap mid-range designer, something that I would think of coming from like Versace or Armani, and I do not like either of those houses at all. And I'm a huge sucker for opening notes. So basically what happens after the kind of cheap, very nondescript opening notes of this, strangely it transforms into this really beautiful, bizarre gourmand fragrance that has tonka, rose, and raspberry. Really nice. It's marketed for men, but this is definitely leaning more feminine. I love it. I think it is one of the most interesting gourmands I've ever tried. I've worn it twice in the less than a week that I've owned it, and I can guarantee this will climb in rankings the longer I have it. I'm really, really into this fragrance. Just need a bit more time with it to suss it out. Next, this is Éloge du Traître. I reviewed this quite recently on my channel. I spoke very highly of it. I think it is one of the most wearable fragrances from Etat Libre d'Orange, as well as one of the most masculine. It smells kind of like a classic resinous, coniferous kind of herbal thing going on here, and it's just really masculine and classy, sophisticated, mature. This is definitely one of the few Etat Libre d'Oranges I can wear to work without feeling a bit insecure that I smell too weird or strange or something. I think this, if you didn't smell this and someone told you it was from, one of the designer houses, kind of niche lines, quote unquote, I think you would probably be tricked into believing that. Very, very well made, classy, elegant, masculine. Definitely something that really stands out in the Etat Libre d'Orange catalog. Next, this is a pretty crazy fragrance here. Putain de Palaces, which basically translates as whorehouse or brothel. And It's meant to smell like, as vulgar as it sounds, basically like a dirty, ropey old prostitute that's sitting in, this scuzzy Paris brothel in like the 30s or 40s or something. And, I think it gets kind of unfairly described as that. It's actually a really nice, sweet, powdery fragrance. It's very soft, just super powdery, sweet, laying on top of a bed of leather. And I've become kind of fascinated by this. It is very, very, very feminine. If you don't like sweet fragrances, if you don't like powdery fragrances, you will not like this. But if you do, this is one of the best powdery scents I've ever smelled. I think it's beautiful. It's just so calming and relaxing. I can't really wear this too much. It's very, very strong, and especially where I live, I'm gonna stand out a lot if I'm wearing this in public. Perhaps, further down the line, I'll get a bit more daring with it and try to pull it off in certain other scenarios. But for now, this is kind of one of my little guilty pleasures that I put on after I have a shower or something. Beautiful, sweet, powdery scent right there. Okay, next, this is Nombril Immense, which basically translates as large navel or large belly button. And this scent here, this is a jewel in the Eldo house because it is so classy and sophisticated. Now, if I said Eloge de Traitre is a classy masculine, this is a classy unisex. This is basically a dry herbal patchouli fragrance. And I heard someone describe this as surprisingly sophisticated, and I really, really like that description. Again, kind of like Eloge de Traitre, if somebody labeled this as a high-end designer release, like an exclusive release or private release or whatever you want to call them, I would not be surprised if somebody described this as smelling like one of those. It's just so classy, sophisticated, it's soft, it's simple, it's light, it lasts, but it definitely doesn't have the kind of awkward projection that you get from a lot of Etat Libre d'Oranges. So I think if you like patchouli and you want something less bizarre or daring, this is definitely a must-try from the Eldo house. Getting into my top three now, I quickly want to say before I get into these, my Tom of Finland that I reviewed and highly praised a couple years back is finished, and I really love that. I can't find another bottle for a reasonable price. I'm going to put it kind of comparable to my top three. I can't really say exactly where I would put it, but I definitely would put it, 4 or above. It's such a great scent. It's kind of like a gourmand suede. It smells to me like a vanilla root beer float sitting on top of a big chunk or lump of suede. So original, so unique, so bizarre. Really love it. Need to get another bottle in my collection. So let's get into the top three. Number 3, this is Rosie De Palma, and this is a beautiful gothic rose fragrance. In my haul video recently, I said, I don't really get why they put the kind of Eastern, Oriental dragon motif on this. I can pick it up a little more. There's ginger and there's some spice in this, but I still think of this as kind of a dark, gothic, watery rose fragrance. Beautiful. If you're into rose, you need to check this out. It's probably not going to be the most amazing rose you've ever smelled, but I think it's so easy to wear and so easy to pull off. I highly, highly recommend this for anyone that loves rose fragrances. Okay, number 2. This one here. Wow, this blew me away the first time I tried it. This is Divin Enfant, which has a marshmallow note, something I've never tried before in a fragrance. And if you're wondering what marshmallows smell like, well, they smell like this. I describe this here as basically a sweet rubber fragrance. It has the marshmallow, as I mentioned, but it also has leather. There's a lot of other notes that sound really, really tempting, like coffee, but I don't really get most of the notes out of this. Basically, this smells like, the kids, like if you get a little kid with those kind of colorful rubber balls, if you were to cut that open, melt a whole bunch of marshmallows and pour them in the ball, that's exactly what this reminds me of. This has devastating projection. It is absolutely out of this world. I can't wear this to a lot of places because I get really neurotic that people are smelling me and talking about me and, why does this guy smell like, marshmallows and rubber balls and stuff. I love this so much, I just can't wear it a lot. It's so bizarre and it's so strong, but that's exactly what I want from it. Amazing scent. If that sounds good to you, you have to try this. And my number one, I talked about this fragrance very recently in my Royal Black review. I said this would be my next fragrance review, and it will be. I just need to get around to it soon. This is Rien. Now, I don't want to talk about this too much. Like I said, I'm going to review this, but this fragrance, the first time I smelled it, it is one of the few scents I've actually tried, like on my skin right then and there, and went, wow, I have to own this bottle. There's only a few times in my entire perfume career where that's happened, and this is one of them. I was just blown away by it. It's smoky, it's resinous, it's animalic, it's got aldehydes, and that's like 4 of my favorite notes or accords right there. It's just like nothing I've ever smelled ever before. It's amazing, and again, it's got the projection on this is just stunning. Definitely more wearable than Divin Enfant, and that's why I put it in number 1. When I smelled this the first time, it was just chemistry. It just worked for me perfectly, and I've let a very good friend of mine who's recently gotten into perfume smell this, and he loved it as well. He went bonkers for it. Check out my review. This is a bit of a teaser for my review. I can't say enough about this. And to make it even better, there is an intense version coming out of Rien. I'm so excited to try it. Again, I don't remember the last time I've been this excited to try a new perfume, especially a flanker, and I'm really, really excited. I have to have a bottle. So there you go. That's my checkout series with Etat Libre d'Orange. Let me know your thoughts. The fragrances I put in, the fragrances I left out. There's still a lot of scents from this house I haven't tried. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon.